when I got married, I was very, very adamant that I wanted a traditional wedding. I did not want my husband to see me before I walked down the aisle, and I told him, "If you don't cry, I'm turning around, and
we're doing this all over
we're
again."
gonna do it again." And he didn't cry. And you know what happened was, I started walking. All I could think about was A, how hot it was, because it was in the end of August and it was really hot. But B, like everybody looking at me. I'm in this giant dress, like, don't trip, don't fall. I have an 8-foot veil coming out the door. Like, I had all of these things going on. I'm holding my dad's arm. I'm like, is my dad crying? Like, what are these people thinking? And my husband's on top of this stage. Everyone's looking at him. He's like sweating in a suit. And it was very uncomfortable. And we were both very nervous. And nobody cried. And we kind of just looked like like a deer in headlights. And I really wish that I was more informed on what a first look really could do for a couple. And you'd be surprised, 95% of the time, I would say, the groom is more nervous than the bride. Hi, I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Kaylee, and this is
Shoot the Vows. And today we're going to be talking about first looks and what they are and alternatives and all of the things. So we're going to get right into it. And Kaylee,
Hi.
you know how I love first looks.
Yes, I do too. They're literally my favorite part. I don't care if it's a first look with your husband, with your dad, your mom, your bridesmaids, your sister, like just do a first look.
Yeah.
They're literally so emotional and so touching. I love it.
Yeah. I love how unique they are. So it's different with first look between a bride and the groom, or the bride and the groom, whatever you got there. And then it's different with the bride and her dad. It's different with the bride and the bridesmaids. They all have kind of a different feel.
Absolutely. And different reactions.
Yeah, I love it so much. The girls are always like cheering and hooting and hollering. Yeah. and then the groom is either very underwhelming or a little emotional. Most of the time they're underwhelming to me. At least the grooms I get. And then the dad is always like
always emotional. Always crying, all tears.
Oh, it's
every
always
time.
way better than the groom. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not a dad, so I don't get it. But I can only imagine like watching your child grow up into this woman and then getting married. So it's so cool. It really, so a lot of people actually ask me what a first look is. And I mean, it's a big reason I started the podcast, right? Because there's so many little things in planning a wedding that you just don't think about, you don't even know exist. And so a first look is basically a moment where the bride and groom, or the bride, the couple, they see each other for the first time for the day. And it's before the ceremony, and it's typically, ideally, it's private, and it's just a moment between them to spend before the ceremony. And I always like to say it's the calm before the chaos, really.
Definitely.
And
it kicks off the whole day.
Yeah, I'm going to go right into the pros because I love them.
There's no cons.
There's
a few, depending on the way you look at it, but
very limited. So, and I'll be the first to say, when I got married, I was very, very adamant that I wanted a traditional wedding. I did not want my husband to see me before I walked down the aisle, and I told him, "If you don't cry, I'm turning around, and
we're doing this all over again.
We're gonna do it again." And he didn't cry. And you know what happened was, I started walking. All I could think about was A, how hot it was, because it was in the end of August and it was really hot. But B, like everybody looking at me. I'm in this giant dress, like, don't trip, don't fall. I have an 8-foot veil coming out the door. Like, I had all of these things going on. I'm holding my dad's arm. I'm like, is my dad crying? Like, what are these people thinking? And my husband's on top of this stage. Everyone's looking at him. He's like sweating in a suit. And it was very uncomfortable. And we were both very nervous. And nobody cried. And we kind of just looked like like a deer in headlights. And I really wish that I was more informed on what a first look really could do for a couple. And you'd be surprised, 95% of the time, I would say, the groom is more nervous than the bride.
100%.
And when he sees his bride for the first time, it's like,
wow.
this relief comes over him. He's
Yep.
like, "Okay, like, I can do this," like, I don't know. There's something about it, and it's so
Well,
magical.
because like you said, when you were coming down the aisle, like, you had so much that you were thinking about, like, you weren't in that moment of seeing your almost husband, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I definitely think first looks are a good way to kind of just kick off right before the ceremony, get everything going. You've already released a lot of those nerves that pent up. You haven't seen them all day, or her, you haven't
Yeah.
seen them, and, so I think that's why I love first looks.
Absolutely. I think getting ready for my wedding, it was fun and exciting, but I maybe this is just me, but every time I go to, like, a girls' thing or I go to a place where I can't bring my husband, I'm like, "Oh, I wish he could be there for this." Like, you know what I mean? And it was like, the sooner I would have seen him that day, like, just the better it would have been because I just love doing everything with him. I don't know if that's just me. I could spend 24 hours a day with him, and we'd only mildly be annoyed with each other. Some people would kill each other, so I get it. But, yeah, so but that's just me, and what I've seen with other couples, when I kind of set this up for them and I create this space because as a photographer, right, as a videographer like yourself, we are trying to just be a fly on the wall with a camera, and just capture the moment, and I always coach my brides, and I tell them, "Listen, I just want you to tap them on the shoulder, say something, whatever, because I'm not gonna intervene. I'm not gonna rush you through this. I'm not gonna pose you. I'm not gonna anything. This is your moment." And I try to relay that to the planner. I try to relay that to anyone that's kind of watching because sometimes you'll get, like, the aunt in the background that's, like, cheering or that's, like, talking and, like, not only if there's video and there's audio, it kind of ruins that, but it's just, like, this is their moment. Right? And
Absolutely.
that's what I wanna make it about. So creating that space for them to just have that moment together. Um, so those are the pros. Those aren't even just that's one pro. The other pros is, and of course I love this because I'm a photographer, but, if you already have done a first look before the ceremony, you're wide open, like, you've already seen each other. So you're wide open to take as many photos as you want before the ceremony, and what I typically recommend is getting all your bridal party portraits done and some couples portraits and maybe some later when there's better lighting and the
Absolutely.
sunset and all that. But if you can knock out all of those bridal party portraits and then do family after the ceremony, you can really,
Open up a lot of time in your day.
yeah, and open up a lot of time where you can attend your wedding and you're not like in a field taking photos somewhere
Right.
or wherever by the lake. You know, you can actually attend some of your cocktail hour, say hi to people that probably flew a really long way or drove a long way to see you. That was another thing at my wedding. I was like, I'm going to say hi and I'm going to say thank you to everyone that attended. So we opted for a receiving line. I know they're not as popular now, but you could do a million different things. But it just gives you so much more time in your day when you just get those photos done earlier. It's so great. I love it. So, I mean, I guess the cons would be, it's less traditional, but I feel like so many weddings nowadays, there's what is traditional
Right.
anymore?
What is it? You know what I mean? I feel like one of the cons that you kind of touched about how the groom is so nervous. I feel like that can be like a negative side of things, but I know so like the wedding we just did, he was really nervous. You were inside getting the bride already and I had the groom in his spot and we were getting ready for the big reveal and he was just like, "I'm just so nervous. There's so many people here, and I'm not good at public speaking." And I told him straight up, I was like, "This is your girl's day. Like, this is for her. Everybody's here to see her." And that's how I kind of relieve the stress because it was less of him. And
Yeah.
I did reassure him that this is y'all's big day, and you want to make sure that y'all have the best time. But just know everybody's looking at your bride. Like
It's
everybody's looking
true.
how beautiful she is,
She
and
was so
oh,
pretty. I
she's
know
so yes.
exactly who you're talking about.
I
Yeah.
love them so much. They were so sweet. But
Yeah.
I feel like that can be a con of how just nerve-wracking it makes the groom a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I think that, another thing is, like, the pressure of needing to be ready by a certain time. I mean, obviously, you have to be ready in time for the ceremony,
But
ideally, but, you
making sure
ha
you're making sure that you are ready a time period before that for the first look, I can see how that can be very stressful.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to start getting ready earlier. You need to be ready for your first look. I mean, your bridesmaids can still be like getting touched up while you're doing that, but yeah, definitely want to be ready earlier, especially if you're also going to be taking photos before the ceremony. So now it's not just the first look, which I always say give yourself like 15 minutes. It literally takes about 2 because usually they're like, "Oh, you look great. You look great. I love you. I love you." And then they look at me and I'm like, "You guys done? You guys good? Yeah. You guys ready?" Like they're not just going to like sit there and have a cup of coffee and discuss the weather, but sometimes, I just want to make sure they have enough time.
Right.
And then also that little bit of buffer. We can do a whole episode one day on timeline planning because
Definitely. There's a lot that goes into it.
there's a lot of things. But one of the things I always recommend is taking whatever amount of time you think it's going to take and then just adding a little bit extra. If you think it's going to take you 2 hours for you and your 2 girls to get ready,
2
give
hours
yourself
and 15 minutes.
Yeah, or 2.5. Honestly, hair and makeup.
2.5, but
hair and makeup are always the number one thing to run late. Always, always, always. Every single time.
Just giving yourself that
And
extra
food.
10 to 30 minutes for any part of your timeline.
Yes.
And I know we're getting off topic because we're talking about first looks, but that extra time really helps.
Yeah. So anyways, planning the time for the first look, and then planning the time for afterwards for the photos you're going to take. Yeah. I mean, you're going to add a little bit of time to the first part of the day. You're probably going to need more photo coverage if you're going to do that. Usually 8 hours is enough. But you might need more than that depending on how much you want later on in the reception. It's all just things to consider. But I think that the pros far, far, far outweigh the cons.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think one of the big things that so even if you want to stay more traditional and you don't want to see your person before you're walking down the aisle, by all means, do a first touch. That literally is also just as emotional and just as connecting as your first look.
Yeah.
Your first looks are very, wow, this is my person, where your first touch is like, oh my God, I haven't seen them all day. And they're right here.
Sometimes, yeah, it's just hearing their voice or feeling
having that.
Yeah, the warmth from their hand. I mean, other alternatives are like I've seen people write letters to each other.
Yes,
and then we can like have them read them out loud for the video. Or just in private, that's fine too. I like to take photos of it, but I try to kick everyone else out of the room because
it's a more private moment.
Yeah.
Just like for your first touches and your first looks, they really should be more of that private. Even if you might want mom or dad there just to kind of peek in on it, like that's one thing. But you don't want your whole bridal party and and Grandma Sally and Aunt Joe. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. And then also you could do like a phone call. You could do. I probably wouldn't do a video call, but I guess you could.
That kind of goes hand in hand with your first look. If you're going to do a video call, you might as well just do a first look.
But I guess the point being is that you can get so creative and there's a million ways to get married and there's a million ways to just do each part of everything. So
there's no right or wrong way. It's your big day at the end of the day.
Yeah. And for any listeners or viewers, if you did a first look or a first touch in a different way than what we just described, please comment.
Let us know. We love giving our people ideas.
Yeah, we love ideas. So those are the big 4 that I can think of. And the first touch, I always try to find like a corner, or maybe if it's a barn, open one of the big barn doors and have them on either side or something like that. So they don't have to like close their eyes for the whole thing. But you can also just privately read your vows that way.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to try to read your vows in front of your entire friends and family. Some people just don't like to do that. It's awkward and uncomfortable. But they still want a traditional wedding where the couple, they're not going to see each other. But as far as like first looks, you can do them not just with your spouse. Like we were saying earlier, I think I like first looks with dad more than I like them with the groom, honestly. And maybe I just don't get the most emotional grooms. maybe I'll get more emotional ones. I do sometimes, but most of the time dad's crying.
Yeah, the
and then mom's like over here watching and mom's crying. Yeah, it's so sweet.
Yeah, I remember the one where my first look ever, actually. And I just remember he turned around and he was like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. You look like a princess. Like, and it's just like things like that. Like, I'm sure she hasn't been called that by her dad since she was 9, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
having those moments that bring back that joy and those memories for mom and dad,
Yeah.
like, that's so touching.
And those are the moments that I keep a stockpile of Kleenex for.
Always needed.
Absolutely. Or you could do a first look. You could do a first look with your sister or with your bridesmaids.
Whoever's important to you.
Your brother,
Your first look doesn't have to
grandma.
be someone related to you by blood. It can be literally anybody.
Yeah.
Whoever's the most important.
Yeah. I like the first look with bridesmaids. And also, I've done a first look with bridesmaids where both of the brides had gotten ready and then dressed and everything separate from where the bridesmaids were. So we did like a first look of both of the brides with the bridesmaids, and they were like, it was just really cute. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm always telling people, just get creative. Like, get creative.
So you remember the one wedding that the bride was getting ready and she had 2 kids and they were definitely over the age of like 6. And her daughter had walked in from, I don't know if she was picking flowers outside or she was doing something. She came in and she said, "Mommy!" And she ran up to her. Oh my goodness, touch my heart. That was so sweet.
Yeah. I think that first looks with kids can be really good too. But yeah, if there's anyone that's special to you that's not there when you're getting ready, I mean, why not?
Definitely.
Why not? Because you don't even really have to get super crazy with where you do it or the planning or you could do a first look with your dad in 5-10 minutes, as long as your photographer knows. And I will say that because some of my couples on the day of, they're like, "Oh, by the way, we got to go do a first look with so-and-so." And I'm like, I didn't know about any of that. So obviously coordinate with your photographer, and they're probably going to be the ones to look for the best spot as far as lighting. There's spots where my couples are like, "I would love to do it here." And I'm like, I'd hate to break it to you, but
it's not the best spot.
It's gonna look pretty bad, But most of the time we could be pretty flexible with that. So, but I think that as far as the pros and the cons and the alternatives, we covered pretty much everything in this episode about first looks. But like I said, if any of our listeners or viewers have any suggestions or things that they've done in the past that they wanted to share with everybody, please comment, and we would love to hear. And again, as I always say at the end of every episode, please let us know if you have any topic requests or things that you guys would like to know more about, and we will make an entire episode about it. We'd love to hear from you guys. So
definitely, just let us know what you thought. Did we change your mind on first looks? Are you pro? Are you con? Are you for? Are you against? Definitely let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
It's a hot topic. So.
It sure is.
For our next episode, we're going to be talking to, as a guest, an elopement photographer. And there's so many people that at some point in the planning process are like, should we just elope or should we have a full wedding? And as a full wedding photographer, and I don't do a ton of elopements, I would love to hear from an elopement photographer that specializes in that and get her take on it, because it's another hot topic. So
yeah.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Pause. Thanks for listening and seeing us.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
I'll have to cut that.